So, here we go. We're live. We're ready. Is he late? Sort of. Just YouTube having a minute. Sometimes it takes a little while for I hit goes or start streaming, I should say, on OBS, and then it takes YouTube like a second to actually recognize that it's coming through. And I will quickly hit go live on the Shorts channel as well. There we are. How are we all doing? I was just having a little look, as you can see, at the lap times from free practice 3. They were interesting. Free practice has been very interesting this weekend. Like free practice 1 and 2 and 3 might have more drama than the Grand Prix, which is a very Monaco thing to happen, isn't it? But we hold out hope. The 2-stop strategies, the 2-stop change to this year's Monaco Grand Prix, it could kind of come into play. Although they're trying to do little bits and pieces with the tires. I think it was very clear from sort of the 3rd race of the season on that the tires really needed swapping around. Obviously, big change last time out. They went to the super soft compounds. So we saw a dramatic change in the tires. Then did that really work? 50-50 on whether the tires were really the thing that caused the issues last weekend or whether it was the couple of safety cars that really stirred the pot more than anything else. I think you could argue it was that way rather than the other. And then again, like this weekend, I suppose with the 2-stop strategy, the hope is that the teams will be like, well, we can just go for it, right? We don't need to manage our tires in any way, really. We can just go full throttle, see how we get on, and go for 2 stops like that. Still have to use 2 different compounds of tires, of course, so it'll be interesting. But we are here for qualifying, which normally is the most important part of a Monaco Grand Prix weekend. How are we all doing, though? Seeing some names come through finally. Hello, Sally. Hello, Josh. How's it going? True Zool, sarcastically hopeful. Hello, Alex. How you getting on? Abar, how are you? Avil in there as well. Red Noodle Gamer gives it a do. No, cannot get involved. I'm not a Max Verstappen fan. Very much hoping one of the McLaren boys comes out on top. What happened to my eye? I got like a weird infection. Don't worry. It is all fine. I've got some medication. But yeah, it does look a little bit red, doesn't it? A little bit red. But it's fine. It's fine. Been to Specsavers. Got some new glasses coming. So that'll throw you all out. These glasses I've had since I started the channel, I think. So new glasses are on their way. So it's going to be a little bit of a change there. New background also. Hopefully on its way. Still trying to move house. There's been a lot of ups and downs with that, but we're getting there. And other news that I will share once it's fully confirmed. If you're a Patreon, you will already know because I let you know on the Discord. Not a patron, a member, channel member. That's what it is now, isn't it? Oscar Piastri, 7 Nation Army tune. Yeah. I could get behind that. I could get behind that. Still leading the championship, of course, Oscar Piastri. Shall we delve into the ins and outs of practice, just in case you missed it? Because free practice 1, free practice 2, and free practice 3 have all had their chaotic moments as the weekend has progressed. Lance Stroll, in particular, has decided to just take the weekend into his own hands. Ollie Behrman has got a 10-place grid penalty, so his weekend might as well be done and dusted already, right? Because a 10-place grid penalty means in a Haas, you're probably starting at best 16th, 17th, which in Monaco means you finish 16th, 17th. So that's kind of done and dusted for Ollie Behrman. Is it a 1-place grid penalty for Lance Stroll as well? Let's delve into all of it. It's all been a little bit weird. If you haven't seen, Charles Leclerc has been absolutely on fire. Like, Charles Leclerc has topped every single one of the free practice sessions so far this weekend. And although he was looking forwards to this weekend, his home Grand Prix, and saying, nah, it's going to be rubbish. We look absolutely nowhere. Ferrari have thrown it all away. Actually, is looking pretty good for Charles Leclerc right now. He's done very, very well indeed, even with a couple of little problems throughout the weekend. He did hit into the back. Well, I say he hit into the back of Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll kind of came out of nowhere and decided to shift in front of a very fast moving Charles Leclerc down towards the hairpin at turn 6. So Charles Leclerc bounced into the back of Lance Stroll's Aston Martin in free practice 1. So Aston Martin and Lance Stroll have themselves a 1-place grid penalty because of that. So that is going to affect Lance Stroll, but I don't think anyone was sort of expecting Lance Stroll to come out here and win anything or do anything crazy like that this weekend. So that little clash was a bit of an awkward one if you did go and see it. Then in free practice 2, we also had stoppages and changes around, and it just seems like everybody is getting in the way of everybody else. Like I know that Monaco is really tight. It's compact. It's difficult to overtake. You know, it is the streetest of street circuits. But it just feels like more than ever, everyone is really struggling to get past one another, and everybody is just falling over the other drivers in front of them. And I just wasn't expecting it. I don't remember that being the case. Maybe I've just lost my Monaco memory, but I just don't remember it being this bad, where we've seen sort of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different problems for various different cars and teams because they are running into traffic or nearly hitting into the back of somebody or nearly wiping somebody out. So it just seems a little bit crazy to me. Red Bull seem to be struggling a little bit in the kind of twos and fro's. Max Verstappen will pull something out, won't he? I think we say this about every Friday. Red Bull seem to be a little bit off the pace, and then Max Verstappen just turns up on Saturdays, does qualifying, and does what he does, doesn't he? So I can imagine that Max Verstappen will probably be all right. Doesn't bode well for Yuki Tsunoda. I think the problem that Yuki's got here in Monaco particularly is that it's all about confidence. And even though he's been in the car since the 3rd race of the season, he still doesn't seem very confident in that Red Bull, does Yuki Tsunoda. So I just don't think it's going to be the weekend for him, unfortunately. Hello, Sarah. How are we going? Will Hamilton participate in qualifying? Well, this is then the thing, Angelo. So at the end of free practice 3, Lewis Hamilton also had a little bit of a moment, put his Ferrari out of action for the end of the session and brought out the red flags. I think it should be fine. I'm trying to find any kind of confirmation that Hamilton's crash, because it wasn't like, you know, an absolutely devastating crash. We're not talking, you know, who was it? Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hulkenberg and Sergio Perez last year, where they all just completely wiped each other's cars off of the existence of the earth. Just having a little look. Lewis Hamilton crashed out. There isn't any confirmation yet, or there's nothing either way at the moment. It's just sort of saying had a little bit of oversteer, hit the barrier. Doesn't seem like there'll be any problems getting his car back ready and raring to go. But yeah, I feel bad for Ollie Behrman getting a 10-place grid penalty in that first one. But as I say, there's been a few cars in the barriers over the course of the weekend. Oscar Piastri in the barriers as well during free practice. So I think everybody's really pushing their luck, and Charles Leclerc has been the only one who's been, well, apart from that incident with Lance Stroll, that I think is more so Lance Stroll's fault than anyone else's. I think, you know, Charles Leclerc is looking the best of a bad bunch, maybe, to get pole position in this one. But then Lance, that's the thing, right? Leclerc has had pole position in Monaco before. It's gone one way where he's had pole position and he's won the race. It's gone the other way where he's had pole position and he's thrown it away. Like, there was a reason he was cursed for so long. So it's kind of looking both sides of the coin for Charles Leclerc. Even though he might get pole position, I was going to say he did get pole position. He might get pole position because he has been quickest in every single session. But I don't know. Can you say hello to Pakistan? Sure. Yeah. Tsunoda joining Red Bull's second driver curse. Does feel that way. Like you look at the free practice 3 times, and I know free practice 3 is not like the best sort of look at the actual times that we're likely to see in qualifying, because free practice 3, a lot of the cars are taking it a little bit easy so that they don't miss qualifying in any way. But you look at Max Verstappen there, he was 2.5 tenths off the pace of Charles Leclerc. In fact, I could show you. Is it still there? Probably not. It's probably loading up. Oh, no, it is. So Max Verstappen there, 2.5 tenths off the pace of Charles Leclerc. Then you look all the way down at Tsunoda, nearly a second off the pace. And it's like, come on. Like, you've had quite a while now. You've got Liam Lawson ahead of him in a Racing Bull. That doesn't always bode well. Isaac Hadjar has looked more likely the sort of second fastest Red Bull car over the course of the last few races. Like, Isaac Hadjar has come into it absolutely flying in recent events. So I don't know. It's a weird moment for Yuki Tsunoda. I do feel a bit sorry for him, because it does feel like that seat is just a bit cursed, and a Red Bull car is just so hard to get on top of if you haven't been there for 10 years like Max Verstappen, or 9 years like Max Verstappen has. Also interesting to see what Kimi Antonelli can do. Like, the Mercedes car just doesn't look amazing over the course of this weekend so far. Obviously, Antonelli coming to a close in Bologna the way that he did last time around in Imola. It's like, that was a bit painful to watch. So I'm kind of hoping that he gets a bit of a bounce back this weekend, but it's going to be, apologies. It's going to be really tough being a rookie coming around here. In fact, who was the quickest rookie? I guess Liam Lawson, you could argue. Then Antonelli. But yeah, you can see all of the rookies kind of falling further down the grid. You got Behrman, Hadjar, Bortoletto, Colapinto, 4 in the bottom 5 there, because it is such a difficult circuit to master. It is the most technical circuit on the entire calendar. It's the slowest circuit on the calendar. You just don't have any time to relax or any time to readjust or reset yourself. So it's going to be a really, really tough qualifying session. And I do think that when it comes to these, the rookies this time around in Monaco, and the fact that we've seen red flags so far over the course of the weekend, I imagine we are going to see a red flag at some point in qualifying as well. Sergio Perez watching this season. Yeah, I think, well, Sergio Perez has at least been justified, right? The fact that he was at least getting into the points, often finishing, 9th or 10th. And sometimes 8th, 9th, 10th, that kind of region, wasn't it, for Sergio Perez a lot of the time? Yuki Tsunoda's absolutely overjoyed that he managed to get a 10th place finish last time out, and didn't really deserve that 10th place finish at all. So it is looking more and more like Sergio Perez was maybe not doing too bad of a job, which I shouldn't really say, because I was heavily critical of Sergio Perez. I think everybody was heavily critical of Sergio Perez, because we saw the gap between him and Verstappen and just assumed, surely he should be doing better or could be doing better. But maybe actually it's just the case that we have this, and the Red Bull second seat is just impossible to drive. Obviously, next year, the hope is that the regulation change will mean such a big reset that actually we'll end up seeing a bit of a change, and maybe that second Red Bull seat will become somewhere where you can actually go again and thrive as a race car driver. So we'll have to wait and see, though. Hello, Kelly. Nice to actually catch one of these. No problem. It's nice to see you too. How late is it beginning? We're about 14 minutes away from the start of qualifying, and just seeing some replays of those free practice incidents. As I've been saying, like, everybody is tripping over everybody else. Seeing Max Verstappen giving a sarcastic thumbs up, Pierre Gasly complaining down towards the swimming pool. Like, everybody has had their moments this weekend, and everybody seems to just be annoyed. Like, even, what was it, Liam Lawson having a go at Lewis Hamilton during free practice 1 as well. Nobody has got away this weekend without just getting in the way of somebody else at some point. And therefore, I think Q1 is going to be so just compact and so difficult, and everybody is going to be vying for the same 10 meters of track towards the end of the session. So it is all going to be going off very, very quickly, I'd imagine. Do you think it's unfair with Haas and Ollie? Yes and no. Like, I can understand why the stewards kind of had to do it. You know, overtaking red flags, that is just a complete absolute no by any stretch of the imagination. As soon as the red flag comes out, I think it's a bit harsh that it's Ollie Behrman again. Obviously, he was done by the red flag in Imola, you remember, in Q1 when he crossed the line, or seemingly crossed the line before the red flag was dropped in terms of the light actually coming on. But the stewards had decided on the red flag a little bit before then. So Ollie Behrman once more being kind of outdone by red flags and red flag incidents. It is harsh. It is very harsh indeed. And the fact that there's also been a couple of other kind of questionable red flag / overtake kind of things that have happened as well in the last sort of couple of practice sessions as well. Seems even more harsh on Lee Behrman, especially 10 place grid drop, because that is just the end of his weekend, effectively. Like, wherever Ollie Behrman qualifies, even if he manages a pole position in his Haas, he's going to start from 11th place, and it is very rare that you move up like more than a position or two when it comes to Monaco, or even lose more than a position or two unless you crash out as well. So it is unlikely that Ollie Behrman is going to get anything from this weekend, and that was decided during free practice 1. So it's been a tough weekend for Ollie to really commit over the course of free practice 2 and 3 and now into qualifying, because he probably just wants to move on to the next one before this one has even started. So I do feel a little bit sorry for Ollie Behrman. It's interesting that, you know, we're seeing the McLaren guys as well. Already the discussions are starting to happen about McLaren team orders. I think because of what happened last time out when we had the... I think is because, you know, we saw last weekend Oscar Piastri was ahead of Lando Norris. They didn't give any kind of team orders or didn't decide to swap those cars around in any way. And actually, it took Lando so long to get past Oscar, that actually it really did kind of cost Lando a chance at a victory and handed the victory to Max Verstappen last time out in Imola. Whereas realistically, one of the McLaren should have been really fighting with Max towards the end of the race. But at the same time, do they really want to get in the way of their two drivers? I think they've said, you know, if we do decide to do team orders, it will be later on down the line, further into the season. A little bit like what they did last year, maybe, where it got to Monza and it needed to be that turning point because it was clear Lando was semi in the title fight, whereas Oscar wasn't. I think as soon as there is that turning point where one of them definitely falls away from the other, and I know you could kind of argue that's starting to happen already, especially with Oscar being ahead of Lando in the championship, but he's still within a race victory. So at the moment, I don't see any need for the team orders between the two. Whether or not we will see that come in later on in the season, I think will be down to those two drivers and how they perform over the course of the rest of the year and how close they are to one another. I think as soon as one of them goes out, or maybe as soon as Max Verstappen, if he does get into second place in the championship, for instance, so maybe if Lando drops down to third or Oscar drops down to third in the championship, then I think then will be the point where the McLaren team have to have a little look at it and go, right, we need to really focus in on actually winning both of these championships, because as much as the Constructors is pretty much done and dusted, the Drivers' Championship, absolutely not. Like, I think that Max Verstappen is well in contention there, especially with the changes coming next weekend in Spain that might, and I say might because I'm not sure it will do, but might change the order of how it goes. Never talk about team orders to favor Oscar. No. I think we should favor Oscar if Oscar is winning the championship. Like right now, if they had to put team orders in place, favor Oscar. Absolutely. I just want one of the two drivers to win the championship. Like, I am a McLaren fan through and through. Of course, at the beginning of the season, if you asked me which of the two drivers would I have preferred to win the championship, I think I would have said Lando Norris, because Lando's been with the team longer. He's been there throughout this whole rebuild. And I've been a Lando Norris fan longer because Lando Norris has been at McLaren longer. But now that Oscar is leading the championship, the fact that Oscar has got 4 wins this season to Lando Norris has 1, I think Oscar is showing that he is arguably the number 1 in the team, as much as that sounds kind of a little bit weird to say. I think you could argue that Oscar is the number 1 driver right now, at least. And that they should be favoring Oscar. Like, I am in no way biased towards Lando or Oscar in any way. I just want one of the two of them to win it. Like, because I think this might be a once in a lifetime thing. You never know. Next year, the regulation change. Maybe McLaren go back to being a midfield team again. And I wasn't really I was kind of becoming a Formula One fan when Lewis Hamilton won the last championship for McLaren. It has been a very long journey to get back here again. And there's no argument from me that it could be another very long wait for another championship, or never again. Look at Williams. Williams completely fell by the wayside. There's, McLaren could do exactly the same thing. I think, teams can go up and down, and teams can look like they are untouchable. Max Verstappen won almost every single race over the course of 2 seasons. And now doesn't look anywhere, or at least doesn't look like the fastest car anymore. These things go in cycles. Where will George be in the standings at the last race of the season? Will he resign for Mercedes or not? I don't think he'll resign for Mercedes. I think he'll try and stay with the Mercedes team if possible. I think it would be more George showing the door rather than George leaving. I think he can maintain 4th in the championship fairly comfortably. I think 4th in the championship has been pretty spot on for where his performances have been this season. And yeah, I can imagine him slotting into 4th place. Who's going to kind of catch him is the thing, right? You look at the drivers behind. Both of the Ferraris have really had their ups and downs. Okay, if Ferrari can have a real turn over the course of the season, really interesting that the Ferrari looks best this weekend in Monaco, and it's because they're using some of their 2024 aero parts. I think that's quite amusing and very Ferrari, isn't it? The fact that they've actually gone back to their 2024 spec. I think it's the rear wing and parts of the rear car, diffuser parts and things like that, and this is the the best that the Ferrari car has looked. So everything they did over the winter maybe did just actually take the car backwards rather than forwards, which is damning for Ferrari and very Ferrari to do, considering this season was supposed to be their season. But there we are. It's where they are now. So I can't imagine that Charles Leclerc will catch up. Hamilton's not quite settled in that Ferrari yet. I think it's going to take him a little bit longer. Antonelli is not going to outscore George Russell, as much as it would be really cool to see, and it would be incredible for Kimi Antonelli to do. I just don't think that's going to happen over the course of 24 races. I think George's consistency and George's experience will get him there. And Yuki Tsunoda is certainly not catching George Russell anytime soon. And then you're looking at like Alex Albon in 9th place and going, can Albon suddenly score like 3 race victories at some point? And Williams have given up on this season and already started their 2026 car. So I think George Russell might end up in a little bit of a no man's land 4th place, to be honest. Why is Ollie taking a 10-place penalty for red flag infringements during free practice 1? Yeah, I think it was an overtake. I can't remember who he overtook. Should we have a little look? I should remember, but I don't. Where is it? Behrman handed major penalty for... Carlos Sainz. There it was. Going into the swimming pool section, Behrman overtook the Williams of Carlos Sainz. Couldn't remember who it was, but yeah, overtook Carlos Sainz. Thank you, Stimpy. Got there just as I did as well. Yeah, Carlos Sainz overtook him. 10 place penalty for undertaking under red flag conditions. It was the red flag for when Oscar Piastri went too deep into turn 1. Quite I was going to say good crash from Oscar Piastri. Not the worst crash possible because he went straight into the barriers, so just only took off his front wing. Didn't do any damage to anything else. I think that's the other thing. If you're going to crash in Monaco, make sure you kind of do it at 90 degrees to the barrier. Just take your front wing off and then try not to do any damage to the suspension and bits around. But we are getting very close to qualifying indeed. Shall we get a couple of bits loaded up so that we can see them? There we are. Risk of rain for F1 qualifying is 20%. 20% for risk of rain. Five laps totally, 3 push with 2 back off. There you go. We have got Alpines at the front of the queue in qualifying at the moment. Still no green flag as of yet. 18 minutes on the clock. Max Verstappen sitting in the garage, ready and raring to go. Of course, qualified second in Imola, then took the victory. A beautiful move from Max Verstappen, it has to be said. Round the outside of turn 2, through turn 3, ahead of Oscar Piastri. It was. And it does feel like Max Verstappen is just starting to turn the screw a little bit, doesn't it? You know, had that little bit of luck last time out in Imola, gained a few more points on the McLaren duo ahead of him. Oscar coming third with his teammate in second, also just reduced that lead right at the front of the championship. And if there's one driver I can sort of expect that as the season progresses, especially if he's still within touch and distance of the championship come the summer break, can actually just start to turn up the pressure and really put those McLaren drivers in their place almost, I think it is Max Verstappen, right? He's not the driver you want to go up against in a championship battle. I think Oscar and Lando would both prefer a championship battle between the two of them rather than having to deal with battling with Max. But unfortunately, they don't get to make that decision. And Max Verstappen is surely going to be right there behind them. We are just waiting for the green light at the end of the pit lane. As I say, we're seeing some Williamses, some Hasses, some Alpines. And it is going to be the Williams of Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz to come out first and second in this little group of cars. We've got the front. Here comes Esteban Ocon and Ollie Behrman as well. So Alex Albon is going to be the first driver to set a fast lap time. We're going to see a very slow drip feed of cars onto the circuit from the end of the pit lane here. Everybody is going to want to get quite a lot of space ahead of the others. I think also the problem is you want to get out early. You want to get that banker lap in because red flags are likely. You know, we've seen a lot of red flags in Monaco qualifying over the years. But then also you don't want to go out too early because then the track does grip up and you get that beneficial of the track evolution the later you come. And also a little bit less traffic as well, because by the time Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon make their way around, there's still going to be cars coming out of the pits and causing them a little bit of a headache in terms of traffic. So have to wait and see. Leclerc 16. Lovely. Love that. Hello. How's it going? Leclerc looking very good for pole position. Don't want to jinx it, though. Don't want to jinx it. Could be anybody's. And of course, 2 mandatory pit stops for tomorrow's Grand Prix as well, which will very much throw in a cat amongst the pigeons. Switch up the running order a little bit. Pop. Oh, wait. I'm missing the background. Where's the background? Weird. Okay. I'll sort that out later. We'll focus in first and foremost. Albon is going for it. Carlos Sainz also on a flying lap. Ocon and Behrman just having to make their way through a little bit of traffic as they go through the tunnel as well. Leclerc and Hamilton going slow for Ferrari. Tsunoda actually right underneath the rear wing of Lewis Hamilton through the tunnel. Nico Hülkenberg has gone quickest of anybody, though, through the first sector. I think has benefited from not having too much traffic in front of him and actually has a nice little run because Colapinto is on a flying lap ahead. So Hülkenberg and Stake Sauber nailing the timing on getting out early and just in that sweet spot where Hülkenberg has got a little bit of space to run into. Around the final corner for Nico Hülkenberg. And I can see that actually. I need to adjust this just slightly. Let's do that. Nico Hülkenberg, a 113.3, fastest in the second and third sectors. And Charles Leclerc can't even go quickest of anybody through the first sector yet. Charles Leclerc looking very tidy indeed. Gabriel Bortoleto also going very quick in the final sector and does go to second in the timing sheets as well. Gabriel Bortoleto then up to second place. A 13.4, just a tenth and a half off of his much more experienced teammate. Is actually a very solid qualifying lap for the rookie. His first time here in Monaco. Charles Leclerc, much better in the second sector from Charles Leclerc, is now a 10th up on Alex Albon's time. Alex Albon jumping to the top of the timing sheets with a 113.1. Sauber looking good indeed. Yeah, at the moment at least. Very good start for them. The times are going to start to tumble, though. Here comes the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, and it's a 113 dead from Charles Leclerc, so a tenth of a second ahead of Alex Albon and goes to the top of the timing sheets. The two Alpines looking a little bit less likely, both on the medium tyre, though. So Colapinto and Gasly 9th and 10th make that 10th and 11th as Liam Lawson goes fastest. The first driver to break into the 112 is a 112.9 from Liam Lawson. And here comes Max Verstappen's Red Bull out of the garage then. 12 drivers having set lap times then. Hadjar, Stroll, Tsunoda and Alonso, not really representative lap times. Here comes Hadjar on his first flying lap, and it's 5th place for the RB rookie. Lando Norris is just coming around the first sector. Let's keep an eye on Lando Norris's first sector time as he's on a flying lap. Just trying to make his way past Kimi Antonelli as they go down towards the hairpin. It's okay from Lando Norris, a 19.2 through the first sector. It's not an amazing time, but he's got a couple of attempts that he can maybe make up in the second or third sectors. We'll have to wait and see. Ollie Behrman goes 1,000th of a second off Lance Stroll's fastest time. So Ollie Behrman goes up to second. Lance Stroll has taken the lead in this first qualifying session. Yuki Tsunoda comes across the line 4th. We're starting to see the cars really ramp up their times now. Here comes Pierre Gasly, and Gasly goes up into 3rd, even on the medium compound tyre. Oh my goodness me. Oscar Piastri going very quick in the middle sector. Lando Norris has made up that time in the middle and third part of the lap to go quickest, but it's only by 18 thousandths of a second. And here comes Oscar Piastri. Wow, to really set the standard then. Piastri gains 4.5 tenths on his teammate and really does say to the rest of the grid, let's turn up the heat a little bit. Piastri with a 112.4. Here comes Alex Albon's Williams car up into second place, 3.5 tenths off Oscar Piastri so far. Charles Leclerc has then also decided to turn up the heat, having gotten a banker lap in. Here comes the Monegasque driver, his home Grand Prix, a year after he made history, winning here in Monaco. He's coming through that final sector again. He's going to go to the top of the timing sheets. He does. And again, it's another big chunk of time. Oscar Piastri, 4/10 adrift of Charles Leclerc's time. Verstappen then through the middle sector he comes out into the sunshine. After coming through the tunnel comes Max Verstappen. George Russell having a problem with his front brakes, possibly smoking. And Max Verstappen has found that time in the middle sector, is a little bit ahead of Charles Leclerc's time for now. Still 10 minutes to go in this session, but it is all changing at this moment in time. Everybody is finding that little bit of lap time, finding that bit of confidence in qualifying trim. And here comes Max Verstappen to go a 10th.5 quicker than Charles Leclerc, and is the first driver to break into the 1:11s. So it's a 1:11.9 from Verstappen. And Hülkenberg's decent time of a 1:12.9 looks an age away now. It's dropped a second off the pace. Here comes Fernando Alonso to go 4/10 and split the Ferraris. Leclerc still second, Hamilton fourth. We're looking at Hülkenberg, Antonelli, Ocon, Colapinto, and Bortoleto as our bottom 5 right now. Remember, we are just looking for those bottom 5 drivers, and they are going to have to fight for their place in qualifying too. Alonso up into 3rd place. Lawson and Hadjar both in the top 10 for RB as well. Looking at those names that we don't normally see in there. Ollie Behrman, unfortunately for him, 5th fastest at the moment, but a 10-place penalty doesn't really mean he's going to be able to do much this afternoon. Lando Norris quickest in the middle sector, as Oscar Piastri has also gone quickest in the first, and the McLaren drivers also deciding to turn up the heat a little bit. Lando Norris goes 3.5 times quicker than Verstappen. The lap times are ridiculously tumbling at the moment. Charles Leclerc has just gone quickest in the first sector of anybody. It is really lap after lap, sector after sector, that we are seeing purple times after purple times from the likes of Norris, Verstappen, Leclerc. Piastri now goes 2nd fastest. And here comes Kimi Antonelli from the bottom of the pile. Where can he move up to? He goes up to 7th fastest in the Mercedes car after his disappointing weekend at his first home Grand Prix. Last time out ended in a mechanical fault. Here comes Carlos Sainz. Doesn't want to be in that bottom 5 anymore. 17th fastest at the moment. Moves up into 6th place, just behind his teammate by 0.5 of a second. Charles Leclerc has been quickest of anybody throughout all of the 3 pre-practice sessions, but can't go top of the timing sheets here. 1.5 tenths of Lando Norris's lap time, a 1:11.5 then. Still the best of the times so far. Max Verstappen deciding that he wants another bite at going to the top of the timing sheets. Quickest in the first sector of anybody. 0.007 of a second off Lando Norris through the middle sector is Max Verstappen. So a final sector masterclass would get Max Verstappen up to the top of the provisional places. Here comes the 4-time world champion across the line, and he stays 4th fastest. It's a poor final sector from Max Verstappen. A 19.1 through the final sector. And that loses him, well, a couple of tenths to Lando Norris and slots him where he was in 4th place anyway. Norris, Leclerc, Piastri, Verstappen, Hamilton are top 5 at the moment then. Still 6.5 seconds to go. 6.5 minutes, sorry, to go in this session. Feels like it's been very fast-paced. Pierre Gasly, Stroll and Gasly being investigated for possible impeding between the two. Stroll and Gasly both coming out of the tunnel. And Stroll thought Leclerc was Gasly, apparently, on the radio. The pink versus the red, catching out the Aston Martin man, but both of them going deep. Oh my goodness me, getting very close to the wall indeed. At turn one was Gabriel Bortoleto. George Russell then, 15th fastest at the moment, actually. Russell had kind of gone under the radar as in a bit of trouble, but now goes up into third place and moves well away from that bottom five. Puts Lawson and Hadjar back in there, along with Nico Hulkenberg, Colapinto and Gasly both down there for Alpine as well. Starting to get a little bit chaotic, especially in the middle of the pack, because everybody is trying to find that little bit of space for themselves. And everyone's struggling to find it. There's just so much traffic, especially through the middle part of the lap, the twisting, turning, turns 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then once you get out of the tunnel, still traffic down into 10 and 11 for Nico Hulkenberg too. He's trying his best to get out of the way. The Alpine cutting the corner at 10 and 11 to try and move out of the way. And Nico Hulkenberg does indeed. Hulkenberg trying to get himself out of that bottom five. The Ferrari delusions are back in my head. Charles Leclerc still third fastest, 0.3 off. Oscar Piastri has come back around with a 1:11.3 as we've been watching the drivers down in that bottom five now, as this is where being in that bottom five and getting out of that bottom five is absolutely crucial. Here comes Nico Hulkenberg to go 6th fastest. That puts the Aston Martin of Lance Stroll down into the drop zone. Isaac Hadjar is 6.5 tenths up on Esteban Ocon's 15th place time for the moment. So the lap times are still coming towards these guys. And the track is evolving for them. And again, I think you just get that little bit more confidence every single lap you do around here in Monaco. Just gives you that extra bit of confidence in the car. You understand where the car's going to go, what the car's going to do. It's that predictable nature that you need in Monaco to really master every single one of these tight turns, as Charles Leclerc is doing in the first sector. It's a purple first sector for Leclerc. The middle sector is good from Leclerc as well. He's a couple of tenths up on Oscar Piastri's time. Are we going to see somebody get into the 110s here for this first part of qualifying? Charles Leclerc is threatening to do it right now. He's a couple of attempts up on Piastri. A perfect final sector would get there. Loses a little bit of time to Piastri in the final sector, does Leclerc, but is still good enough to go to the top of the sheet at the moment. Charles Leclerc then with a 1:11.2 on provisional pole. Colapinto has had a really tough middle sector, has lost a little bit of time even on himself. He's 19th fastest at the moment, and both of the Alpines seeming like they aren't really with it. Gasly does manage to move out of that bottom five, but Colapinto doesn't. Colapinto stays at the bottom in 20th place. Yuki Tsunoda has snuck into the bottom five whilst we've been watching other cars. Tsunoda, it's improved in the first and second sectors. So Tsunoda should do enough here to get himself fairly comfortably out of that bottom five. Goes 9th fastest, so moves ahead of Isaac Hadjar and does become the second fastest Red Bull-powered car. I think that's always the worry for Yuki Tsunoda, is where are the RB cars as well? Not only does he have to worry about Max Verstappen, he almost has to worry about having sort of 3 teammates effectively, does Yuki Tsunoda. But moves ahead of them into 9th spot. Gabriel Bortoleto is the driver that replaces Yuki Tsunoda in that bottom five. So it's Bortoleto, Alonso, Behrman, Stroll and Colapinto. Both of the Aston Martins down there after a wonderful weekend for them in Imola qualifying. Looked absolutely electric, then got very unlucky during the race, and the race pace just wasn't quite there for Fernando Alonso to get his first points of the season. But if he can qualify in the top 10 again, it's much more guaranteed that he'll stay there here in Monaco. Albon and Sainz have gone 4th and 5th fastest as they get an applause from the Williams garage. It's a minute and a half to run here. Starting to get very close indeed. Hamilton is just coming around the final sector. Hamilton is in 13th place at the moment. Gasly and Lawson behind him. And then Bortoleto, Alonso, Behrman, Stroll and Colapinto, those 5 at the bottom as well. Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz just look ridiculous at the moment, don't they? That Williams car seems like everything is clicking suddenly. Alex Albon, 40 points on the board, has been on fire so far this season. Carlos Sainz seeming to get to grips with the Williams car in the last few races as well. Both of them look like they could definitely get a top 10 qualifying once again. Lewis Hamilton, though, looking less likely. The damage to his Ferrari car repaired, but still doesn't look amazing inside of that Scuderia. Hamilton, it's a slow first sector, and this second sector down towards that chicane. Out of the tunnel he comes. Little bit of a touch on the curbs there for Lewis Hamilton through turn 10, 11, and 12 he goes. It's a much better middle sector from Lewis Hamilton. In fact, a purple sector from Lewis Hamilton as he now drops to 15th place. So needs this lap to be good enough to get him through as the checkered flag does drop. Here comes Hamilton. Where is he going to put himself? And it's 4th fastest. That should be more than good enough to get both of the Ferraris through in this session. Here comes Liam Lawson, currently 16th fastest. Can he get himself out of the bottom 5? Yes. Goes up to 9th place. That puts Pierre Gasly down in the bottom 5 and I think out. I don't think Gasly is on a lap. Alonso comes across the line to go 7th fastest. So Alonso then puts Behrman down in that bottom 5. Bortoletto is on a lap. Hadjar is on a lap as well. The two were fighting for the Formula 2 championship down to the wire. And it looks like Hadjar might just ruin Bortoletto's afternoon. He does. Hadjar comes across the line to put Bortoletto into that bottom 5. Oh, and there is a yellow flag. And I think it's Kimi Antonelli. And it's Kimi Antonelli indeed. He has put that Mercedes car in the barriers. And Antonelli, 15th fastest. He is going to be through to the second round of qualifying. But that is going to be qualifying over and done with. And there's the red flag being confirmed. So it is Bortoletto, Behrman, Gasly, Stroll, and Colapinto who all fall down. And Kimi Antonelli is also not going to be running in the second qualifying session either. So we're going to see 14 cars through to the second round of qualifying. Leclerc, the quickest of anybody once again, was 0.05 of a second ahead of Lando Norris. Piastri then also within 1/10 of a second of top spot. So it is very tight at the top. Max Verstappen, of course, keeping himself in the discussion. Here we go. Here's the replay of Kimi Antonelli. Comes out of, and just gets a little bit greedy at turn 10. Does Kimi Antonelli there. Just coming out of the tunnel. Clips the front left on that barrier just on the inside of turn 10. Then bobbles over the curb through turn 11 as well. And just can't stop that Mercedes car before it meets the barriers on the outside of turn 11. And that's going to be the end of the afternoon for Kimi Antonelli as well. Antonelli, disappointing last weekend for him in Imola, his home race. And now another tricky qualifying session. Just a little bit, just tried to be like a little bit too greedy on the entry to turn 10. That's all he did. We're talking inches, millimeters, if that. You know, he didn't like take the wheel off the car or anything, but just clipped the inside curb at turn 10. That then made the wheel just ricochet a little. Couldn't slow the car down. Gabriel Bortoletto gives a thumbs up, but he is out of the session. His teammate Nico Hülkenberg, 14th fastest. And I think that's the thing. We're just seeing that little bit of experience maybe playing into Ocon and Hülkenberg's favour there, because clearly the Haas and the Stake Sauber cars are not quite the fastest cars out there by any stretch of the imagination, but getting the better of Bortoletto and Behrman and getting themselves through. Isaac Hadjar again ahead of Liam Lawson in 11th from 12th place. They're the four drivers that will need to improve if they want to see themselves through to Q3. Hadjar 11th, Lawson 12th, Ocon 13th, and Hülkenberg 14th. The top 10, though, jam-packed. 2 Ferraris, 2 McLarens, 2 Red Bulls, all in there. George Russell's Mercedes as well. The Williams is absolutely flying at the moment. Fernando Alonso, the only name in there, not out of those teams. It's Antonelli, I guess, has opened the door for an extra midfield car. Although, can you call Williams a midfield car anymore? Are they separating themselves out from the rest of the midfield? It does feel like it because they're so far ahead in the Constructors' Championship. Oh, thank you, GameStar70, for the super chat. Who thinks that Alonso can bring some magic like 2023 Monaco quali? Alonso Stroll, difference between their positions in Q1 is the highest amongst all teams. Yeah, Alonso, again, is, I think, I was going to say is the experience, but Lance Stroll is actually quite an experienced Formula One driver, isn't he? We can't really make that excuse for Lance Stroll compared to the rest of the rookies. Okay, yes, he hasn't got the experience of Fernando Alonso, but Alonso, I do think that experience does just help quite a lot when it comes to Monaco, because you've just got that little bit more of a cool, calm, collected feeling about your own ability. Whereas as a rookie, I do think you're sort of second guessing yourself. It's your first time in Monaco. You don't want to do anything too bad. And you don't want to sort of cause your team any problems. I think Ferrari will be able to take Red Bull on in the Constructors' Championship. Certainly, but I think that's mainly because, as Red Bull have kind of touched upon, they still only really have one driver to their name. Yuki Tsunoda still hasn't found form at the moment, and it's kind of whether Max Verstappen can outscore both of the Ferrari cars over the course of all of the weekends we've got left, and I just don't think that will happen. There'll be weekends where Ferrari come to the fore. There'll be weekends where Ferrari, Monza, for instance, where they bring an entire Monza package. I think that will help. There'll be weekends where Max Verstappen drops points and both Ferraris are still scoring them. So I think Ferrari will have Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship unless things change for Yuki Tsunoda. I think that's the real one. Stroll missed out on finishing his last lap because of Antonelli. Yeah, that's very true. Would have likely got through. Oh my goodness me. And Max Verstappen on the radio saying Lewis Hamilton possibly impeding him as they go up the hill. Ooh, and Max Verstappen did have to get right out of the way of Hamilton. I see. The Ferrari engineers actually told Lewis Hamilton that Verstappen was slowing down, but that was not the case, and Verstappen came past at quite a rate of knots, actually. Verstappen flying past. Ooh. Yeah, it is exactly that. This is just showing the Kimi Antonelli incident again. Oh, actually, he was quite a bit greedy. Was Kimi Antonelli. Now you slow it down. I think he actually punctures his front left tire without... he was a bit more greedy than I thought. I thought it was a little bit of a kiss with the barriers. It was quite a clunk with the barriers from Kimi Antonelli there. So that's unfortunate, though. I think he just got a little bit overzealous. Wanted to put an extra little bit of spice onto himself. Make sure that he managed to get himself into that top 10 maybe, rather than just guaranteeing his safety. That's the thing that can sometimes get you. But Kimi Antonelli is going to be out of this session. So Antonelli makes his way back to the Mercedes garage. His car is just being removed. So there is going to be a little bit of a delay to the start of Q2 as that car is still being moved from Kimi Antonelli. And then we will get back underway once again. Oh, and Lance Stroll again might be in trouble for impeding. Because Yeah, really didn't get out of the way of Pierre Gasly at all there. Q2 will start at 4:29 local time, so we are just a couple of minutes away. Do I think Hamilton will do better than P6? It's going to be tough. Like, the problem is you look at the names ahead of him and some tough competition there. Do I think he'll be better than the two McLarens or his teammate? Probably not. Verstappen knows how to just turn on the heat as well inside of that Red Bull. And then you've got George Russell, his old teammate. Whether or not they'll be able to go back and forth. Behrman starting P20? Yes, indeed, he will take that 10 place penalty. Well, unless other people are given penalties. There's a few investigations going on. A lot of them being left until after the session, though. It's going to be just having a little look. Ah, the medium tires, yeah. Oh, okay. So a lot of the guys using that medium tire now in Q2 just to maybe get some comfortable laps in. Also keeping a set of soft compound tires possibly for the Grand Prix, which is an interesting, especially with the two-stop strategy coming, or the two-stop being mandated. It does feel like, you know, keeping a spare pair of softs just in case there's a safety car or something plays into your favor. I don't know if it's a bad idea. I think Max Verstappen, though, is pretty much shredded through all of his soft compound tires. Albon and Sainz then are both on those mediums. So Nico Hülkenberg has come out on some soft compound tires for the Stake Sauber team. Ocon, Alonso, Lawson, Leclerc now makes his way onto the track. Can Leclerc continue this clean sweep that he's had over the course of the weekend? Currently has been fastest in every single practice session and in the first qualifying session. Are we going to see the dream weekend for Charles Leclerc? Imagine if he does a Grand Slam all the way across a Monaco Grand Prix weekend, fastest in every single session. That would be something special. I know he won the race last year, which was something amazing. But if he now wins in Monaco again and gets every single fastest session and maybe even the fastest lap of the race as well, goodness me. What timing system am I using? This is Multiviewer, which you can get access to if you've got F1 TV. Why are the drivers cutting the chicane after the tunnel? Because basically you don't, or they can get away with it because they will argue that they were just moving out of the way for sort of faster cars coming behind and things like that. It's one of those things that's sort of like, because you're not on a fast lap, you can just kind of cut it and use it as a bit of a space to either move out of the way of people who are coming fast behind you, and you just kind of get away with it. Although they don't do it at turn one. Oh, I suppose it's a bit more bumpy because there's the actual curbs there. Charles Leclerc then for Ferrari, once again on a flying lap. Just keeping an eye on sort of Hülkenberg, Albon and Sainz as well. Who won it last year? Charles Leclerc. Can't believe you'd forget that. Goodness. Here we go. The Nico Hulkenberg 122.4 is not really a lap time that will worry anybody. Here comes Ocon then at 112.5 is a bit more like it. Albon also going for a slow second lap as well, getting a lap on the board nonetheless. A 125 dead. Here comes Alonso. 111s again for Alonso. 111.6 for Lawson. So the lap times are going to start tumbling now. Charles Leclerc quickest in the middle sector and quickest in the final sector. A 111.3 from Charles Leclerc, and Lando Norris matched that. It's a fast middle sector from Lando Norris. It's purple for the McLaren car. Oscar Piastri has also just gone quickest in the first sector of anybody. So the McLaren's not hanging about and wanting to get back up towards the top end of the timing sheets. Isaac Hadjar slots in just behind Liam Lawson, his teammate, but I'm keeping an eye on Lando Norris as he goes to the top of the timing sheet and is the first driver in this session to get into the 110s, a 110.9 from Lando Norris. Charles Leclerc, though, was on the medium tyre. You can see the Ferrari with the yellow marked medium tyre to the right-hand side of Charles Leclerc's lap time there. Here comes Alex Albon to go third fastest up until Max Verstappen comes through. Fastest final sector from Max Verstappen. Good enough for second quickest at the moment. 10th and a half of Lando Norris's provisional pole position time. Of course, we are still... Oh! And George Russell has come to a stop in the tunnel, and it's one disaster after another for Mercedes. Kimi Antonelli into the barrier, and George Russell is going to cause another red flag. So 2 Mercedes, 2 red flags. He's come to a stop right in the middle of the tunnel. That is not going to be an easy place for the marshals to move that car. Going to have to push it all the way out of the tunnel down towards turn 10. Maybe down the escape road there. George Russell's trying to restart his car. The red flags have still been waved, though, and the rest of the field making their way into the pits. So we have got a lot of cars having not set, or well, we've got Tsunoda, Piastri, and Russell haven't set flying laps yet. So Esteban Ocon is the man who is in the bottom 5 on merit. Of course, Antonelli is out of the session after his collision with the barriers at the end of the first qualifying session. And now we've got the second Mercedes also now coming to a stop. George Russell, it's a shake of the head. And doesn't look like it's going to come back to life. And Russell knows the disappointment, grabs his helmet in frustration. And it's going to be both of the Mercedes cars in 14th and 15th place on a track that is maybe the most difficult to overtake in the entire season. So, unfortunately, if you're a Mercedes fan, it's looking like you might want to take tomorrow off. No, it's not looking very good at all. They're going to have a real task on their hands starting from 14th and 15th. Does mean, though, that another slot has now opened up in the top 10, because we would assume that George Russell would have been likely inside of that top 10. And George Russell actually being asked to stay inside the car. So that he can turn the car around. Pushing the car. George Russell sitting on top of the car. And it's almost like the Lego race, this. The marshals now pushing George Russell's Mercedes down the tunnel. Let's have a little look. Oh. I think he's literally freewheeled all the way down the hill. Knew he had some kind of problem. And I think basically what's happened there is he's gone all the way down the hill. So his car actually pretty much came to a fault at about turn 3. So he traveled through turn 3. That's when his engine started to cut out, and he just kept on rolling all the way down through 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, round towards the tunnel, and then finally came to a stop inside of the tunnel by the looks of things. So, bit of a weird one from George Russell. Don't think I've ever seen a Formula One car just like completely freewheel down a hill before, but that's how it is. Raw Interest, subscribe. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, mate. Trying to get to 130,000 subscribers. The channel will be sort of up and running again. It's kind of taken a bit of a hiatus while I was looking for another job. Mainly because I've spent most evenings and most days either applying for interviews, going to interviews, or preparing for interviews. But hopefully, channel will be back up and running again fully. So some shorts and some videos to come. Don't you worry. Fortnite Plays, thank you for subscribing as well. George Russell then and Kimi Antonelli both out of it. Both actually, well, both of their cars are going to be in pretty similar spots because Kimi Antonelli came to a stop on the outside of turn 11. George Russell's come to a stop at turn 9, but the marshals have pushed his car all the way through the tunnel, down the hill there, out of the tunnel, across turn 10, and down the escape road at the end of that chicane. And now 10 minutes and 8 seconds on the clock. George Russell's car has been fully removed, so we can get ready to go once again. The green flags will be waved momentarily, and we'll be back underway for this second qualifying session. Still more than enough time for the rest of the grid to do a good couple of laps if they really want to go for it. It is Ocon, Tsunoda, and Piastri, the three drivers that will need to improve. Russell and Antonelli will guarantee start in 14th and 15th place. Russell having come to a stop during this qualifying session. Kimi Antonelli causing the red flags at the end of the last qualifying session, managing to get himself through, but taking his front wing and front left tire off, so wasn't going to be taking part. And Nico Hulkenberg is right there outside of the garage. In fact, everybody is outside of their garages now. Tire blankets are off. We're just waiting for confirmation. And then as soon as there is any kind of confirmation, we're going to see a real rush of cars into the pit lane. They're sort of creeping out of their garages, as we can see. The best thing about anyone retiring from any session in Monaco is watching the cars floating from the crane. Yeah, that is bad. They wouldn't have done, well, wouldn't have seen that with George Russell's. What would they have done, actually? It was inside the tunnel, George Russell's car. I don't actually know what they do if they, if a car crashes in the tunnel. Maybe there's a little crane that they can get inside of the tunnel. Can Kimi still take part in the quali? No, unfortunately not. His car will be somewhere down turn 10, turn 11 as well now. So both of the Mercedes cars will be side by side on an escape road somewhere, I'd imagine, or at least within the same vicinity of one another. Kimi Antonelli will be back in the Mercedes garage, I'd imagine, and George Russell also likely making his way there as we speak. So both of the Mercedes cars are going to be out of this one, and there is the confirmation of the time, and therefore the rush of cars into the pit lane. We're going to get back underway in 2 minutes' time. will resume at 6:44 local time in Monaco. Lewis Hamilton is already out in the pit lane, 9th fastest at the moment. Knows he's under a little bit of pressure. It's taking the pressure off a touch because there's no Mercedes cars in the mix for the top 10. You'd assume that at least one of them would have made it through, if not both, through into the top 10 shootouts. That does open the door for your Alonsos, your Hulkenbergs. I was going to say your Sainz and Albons, but they're pretty much guaranteed to be through in that Williams because they just seem absolutely electric at the moment. Ocon, Tsunoda, and Piastri, the three that need to improve. And just a reminder for you guys that maybe are just joining us, George Russell and Kimi Antonelli both out in this qualifying 2 sessions. So they will start 14th and 15th place. Gabriel Bortoleto was 16th fastest in Q1. So he has dropped out in 16th. Ollie Behrman has a 10-place penalty, so we'll start from the back of the grid. That promotes Pierre Gasly into 17th place, Lance Stroll into 18th place, and Franco Colapinto into 19th place. Both of the Alpines unable to get out in Q1. And now just waiting. About 30 seconds to go. 4:44, F1 is hinting something. Maybe. 9th fastest at the moment. Needs something to very much play in his favour, I feel. Yeah, other Ferrari looking much quicker. Charles Leclerc, quickest of anybody in every single session so far this weekend. Currently 3rd fastest with 10 minutes to go in this session as well. Waiting for that green light to show at the end of the pit lane. There it is. And here we go then. Nico Hulkenberg is going to be out first. Here comes George Russell. Actually has managed to walk back to the pit lane in that time. He's just looking at his old teammate, Lewis Hamilton, and Fernando Alonso in the pit lane as he's wandering past the other side of the barriers. So Hulkenberg, Albon, Hadjar, Sainz and Hadjar out on track. Ocon next in the queue. Interesting that Piastri hasn't gone super early in this mix. Piastri and Tsunoda didn't get to set a respective lap time before that red flag from George Russell. So the Red Bull and the McLaren really need a time on the board to guarantee themselves a spot in Q3. Otherwise, another red flag, a yellow flag maybe in a sector here or there, and 10 minutes can very quickly evaporate into nothing. And that would be a shock if we saw both Mercedes, Piastri, and Tsunoda drop out of the top 10, especially for Piastri and his title hopes. It's going to be very tough indeed to do anything from 13th place tomorrow. He needs to really be looking at podium places, if not wins, to keep his title challenge and just keep the pressure on the two behind him in Norris and Verstappen. F1 24 right now. I played F1 25 for the first time yesterday. It was very good. Well, I say the first time. I played it at an EA event a couple of weeks ago. And then I played it for the first time in my own home yesterday. And it's very good. I'm very much enjoying F1 25. They might do some F1 25 streams because they've changed quite a lot. They've like a new career mode style. A lot of the tracks do drive quite a lot nicer. They've done a lot of LiDAR scanning for a few of the tracks on the circuit. And I'm really intrigued to do the backwards circuits as well. So I might do some F1 25 streams. Been very much enjoying F1 25. As soon as the embargo is out, I will let you guys in on the magic. Pre-ordered the Iconic Edition. Did you use my code? That's the thing. Did you use the not applicable code? So if you didn't, you missed out on 10% off. Lewis Hamilton then down sector 1 has improved. So Hamilton is doing it. Hated F1 24. Yeah, I couldn't really get on board with F1 24 either. But F125, I've been enjoying. I've only played it 2-3 times. Like, don't get me wrong. And one of those times was at an EA event. So I couldn't really, be too negative about it. But I was just honest, Oh, and Hamilton through the middle sector. A 10th and a half up on his own time. Very nice indeed from Lewis Hamilton, improving and improving. Sector 2, Charles Leclerc has just gone quickest of anybody. And Sector 3, Charles Leclerc goes to the top of the timing sheets. And he's still trying to keep that dream alive of being quickest in every single round, isn't he, Charles Leclerc? He's 0.3 of a second quicker than Hamilton. Hamilton moves up into second placed. Oh, my goodness me. Lando Norris also looking to improve. Here comes Oscar Piastri then. Surely won't stay 13th fastest for much longer and does move up to 4th fastest. Does Piastri 3.5 tenths, nearly 4 tenths of a second off Charles Leclerc's time for now. So that does put Carlos Sainz down into the bottom 5. Carlos Sainz is on the medium tyre and is coming around the final sector. Here comes Carlos Sainz then to try and improve, and it's 7th fastest for the Spaniard at the moment. That puts Hülkenberg down into the bottom 5. Hülkenberg actually in the pits at the moment. Ocon and Tsunoda down there in that bottom 3 that we're trying to see who will drop out here in Monaco. 3 of those drivers have to go. Hülkenberg, Ocon and Tsunoda, the 3 at the moment. Norris is on a flying lap. 3rd fastest at the moment, 3.5 tenths off Leclerc. He's improved in the first sector. It's not purple, though, from Lando Norris, but improved nonetheless. Round sector 2, just through turn 10, 11 and 12 he comes. And he's 0.05 of a second off Charles Leclerc's time as Lando Norris, who is going to improve. But can he go quickest? Needs to find just 0.5 tenth of a second in this final sector. And does indeed. Finds it, goes quickest in the final sector, and goes quickest overall. Does Lando Norris. A 1:10.570 is 11 thousandths of a second quicker than the Monegasque. Here we are then. Yuki Tsunoda is finally getting a flying lap in. 1:27.4 from him beforehand. It's not going to stay that for long. Here comes Lawson to improve up into 9th place. Puts Isaac Hadjar then in the troubling position of being 10th, with Yuki Tsunoda coming across the line now. And Tsunoda, he's only 10th fastest from Yuki Tsunoda. It's only 3 thousandths of a second better than Isaac Hadjar. I was expecting quite a bit more from Yuki Tsunoda there, considering Hadjar was on a used set of tyres as well. I'm not so sure with this one when it comes to Yuki Tsunoda, That does not fill me with hope and joy. Tsunoda is going to be right in the mix as these cars now 3.5 minutes to play with here in Monaco. How many wins does Max have this year? 2. Japan and Imola. Max Verstappen, in fact, just coming around the final sector and starting another flying lap. DRS wide open on that Red Bull car. He's 6th fastest at the moment, 5.5 tenths adrift of Lando Norris's current fastest time. I think should be safe with that time nonetheless, Max Verstappen. So this is just another one to get his eye in. Knows he's going to be battling for pole position in a few minutes' time. So wants to see if he can go that little bit better. Does improve in the first sector. 8 thousandths of a second of Lando Norris's first sector time. Gets a little bit out of shape through the middle sector, coming down towards the opening of the tunnel. I think Nico Hülkenberg there just trying to get out of the way of Max Verstappen, maybe just caught the Dutchman's eye. Piastri has gone fairly slow in the first sector. It's a disappointing first sector from Piastri. Doesn't improve on his time at all and actually goes a little bit slower than his previous first sector time. Max Verstappen is really getting close to the barriers, though. And Verstappen is 4th fastest in the first sector, 5th fastest in the middle sector. So it's not really going to trouble the top of the timing sheets, but goes 3rd fastest as Max Verstappen. Here comes Piastri. Can he improve? No. Piastri stays where he is in 5th. It was actually sort of half a tenth of a second slower than he was previously. Kimi Antonelli on the Mercedes wall with Bono. Still wants to learn and get involved in the session, even though he is out. Piastri, yeah, nearly 4 tenths off of Lando Norris in this one. Isaac Hadjar is on an out lap and just coming around the final couple of corners. Lawson and Hadjar both looking to improve. And Fernando Alonso saying that he needs a little bit of a breather after that lap. Boxes in. Isaac Hadjar then 11th fastest at the moment, 0.003 of a second. All he needs to knock Yuki Tsunoda down into that bottom 5. And he's just gone quickest of anybody in the first sector. Isaac Hadjar is absolutely flying this season. Alex Albon has just taken that purple sector away from him, but my goodness me, Isaac Hadjar has got the bit between his teeth. He is going down towards turn 10, left and right. Gets a little bit greedy, you could say. A little bit shaky on the exit of turn 11, but still pretty solid from Isaac Hadjar. He's still 3.5 tenths up on Yuki Tsunoda's time, and he's still got a sector to run. Alex Albon has gone 0.003 of a second slower than Norris through the middle sector. We could see Alex Albon jump to the top of the timing sheets here. Tsunoda has had a poor first and second sector. Hadjar comes across the line 6th fastest after a stunning lap. Albon's going to have an even better one, goes 3rd fastest of anybody. And Yuki Tsunoda down in the bottom 5. Carlos Sainz doesn't improve. Carlos Sainz is going to be out. Yuki Tsunoda is going to be out as well. And Nico Hülkenberg is down in that bottom 3 too. So it is Sainz, Tsunoda, and Hülkenberg that are going to join Russell and Antonelli. Oh, wouldn't have put one of the Williams down there. Carlos Sainz misses out by 1/10 of a second to Esteban Ocon. Oh, and Oscar Piastri nearly puts himself in the barriers on the final couple of corners as well. Piastri searching for the fastest lap of the session. Does go 4th fastest, but got all out of shape in that final sector. Lost a couple of tenths there. So Piastri has got a little bit of time in the bank. I think everybody else has aborted laps where needed because they know that it is now all over with. Carlos Sainz is going to be 11th. And Yuki Tsunoda, not very happy at all. Says that it's unfair. Don't know what he's sort of pointing at as to what was unfair, but I think it's just been a really frustrating time for Yuki Tsunoda, hasn't it? And especially now because Yuki Tsunoda again has been outdone by both of the sister team cars. Hadjar in 7th, Lawson in 9th. Yuki Tsunoda out. So Carlos Sainz is going to start 11th. Yuki Tsunoda 12th. Hülkenberg 13th. And it's never easy when you're starting outside of the points to get into them when it comes to the Monaco Grand Prix. Russell and Antonelli behind in 14th and 15th. Russell coming to a stop, unfortunately, in the tunnel for him early on in the session with 10 minutes to play. They then had to push his car down towards the exit of turn 10-11. So Russell 14th. Antonelli qualified for Q2. Didn't actually get to take part in it though. So Antonelli starts 15th after his collision with the barriers down into turn 10, turn 11. Bortoletto, Behrman, Gasly, Stroll, and Colapinto out in Q1. So, unfortunately, for Charles Leclerc fans, it's not going to be the perfect dream weekend because he has missed out on the fastest lap in Q2. Had been fastest in every single session up until he was 11 thousandths of a second off of Lando Norris's time there. Lando Norris with a 1:10.570. Charles Leclerc with a 1:10.581. Alex Albon put in an absolutely stellar lap as well to go third fastest. He's in the top 10 again and looks set to score points again. Like, Albon has just been on fire this season. Piastri, a little bit disappointing, but did get all out of shape in that final sector, so definitely has a couple attempts in his pocket if he can get those final few corners right next time around. Verstappen in 5th, Hamilton makes it through in 6th place, Isaac Hadjar in 7th place, Fernando Alonso is in a Q3 once again after a really frustrating Imola Grand Prix. Qualified in 5th, remember, last time out, Fernando Alonso, and didn't end up in the points after a frustrating race where the safety cars just did not play into his favour. Liam Lawson is in 9th place, and Esteban Ocon has managed to get the Haas up into the top 10. Ocon does love a little bit of Monaco, doesn't he? Of course, has been on the podium here, Esteban Ocon, when he was back at Alpine. Maybe he can get himself a Haas podium for the first time since he joined the Haas team. Joining, of course, at the beginning of the season. An all-new Haas lineup for 2025. And Carlos Sainz, no grip on the tyre for the Spaniard, according to him. And that's what puts him out of the session. 11th fastest, a 10th down on Esteban Ocon's time. I think Ocon, coming across the line, knew. And he was very happy indeed on the radio, as Esteban Ocon was not expecting that, I don't think. But Ocon overjoyed to be inside of that top 10, and points definitely on the cards for Ocon tomorrow. Do I want Alonso to win? For the story, yes. As a McLaren fan, I'd much prefer it to be Piastri or Norris. I'm not going to lie to you. But if not Piastri or Norris, I can accept a Fernando Alonso victory, I guess. Albon could do what Ocon did in 2023. That's very true, actually. Yeah, maybe it could be Albon getting the midfield podium. As you remember, Esteban Ocon 2023 got that podium for Alpine. And it was amazing, wasn't it? That Spider-Man helmet, I remember, from Esteban Ocon as well. Esty Bestie did it. I mean, he's more than overjoyed to get through to Q3 in P10. So not sure that the podium places are quite on the line for Esteban Ocon again this time around. But Esteban Ocon is not Alex Albon, who is on fire at the moment. And Hadjar, Alonso, Lawson also in there. 5 of the sort of midfieldy cars, you would argue. And I think it just goes to show this season has been really, really tight all the way down. Like, because even the top teams have been struggling. You know, we're seeing Tsunoda not qualifying where he should. We've seen Hamilton a few times struggling. Leclerc, obviously, out in Q2 as well last weekend. Both of the Ferraris not making it. Like, a lot of the midfield teams have had their sort of time to shine when it's come to qualifying this year. And it is super competitive. So 5 of those midfield cars in the top 10 again, which means you'd imagine, like, at worst, if you're the best of those 5, you can sort of start the race in 6th place, which is a really solid chunk of points you could take away from this weekend if you finish in 6th place for one of those midfield teams. Like Albon, Hadjar, Alonso, Lawson, I think they'd absolutely snap your hand off for a 6th place finish at the beginning of the weekend. If you asked them on Wednesday, here you go, you can finish in 6th place guaranteed, I think they'd have taken it. But you never know, especially because like the red flags might be out again. I think it's going to be super tight. Super, super tight. Oh, thank you for the super chat, GameStar70. Two-stop mandate. Very true. Undercuts, overcuts will be very, very strong tomorrow. But then also, you've got with the two-stop mandate, you won't have as much tire management as we normally see. Because the reason that a lot of the cars sort of go for the one-stop strategy is because they know that if they manage their tires enough, they can just about get away with not having another 20-second stop. Whereas tomorrow, we won't see too much tire management, I'd imagine, because of the two-stop mandated. It means that actually we'll see the cars really going for it and able to use up their tires, really. Unless there's a sort of red flag or something really early on, because then that first pit stop will be done and then it'll effectively turn into a one-stop race again. So what we don't want tomorrow is like an early red flag, because you can change your tires under the red flag. Verstappen has the ability to pound fastest lap even on an old tire. No point for fastest lap anymore, though, so not really worth it, unfortunately. However, let's focus in on Q3. We have got 11 minutes and 40 seconds left to play. And we are seeing cars coming out on track. Alex Albon is the first man to come out for this Q3 session. Esteban Ocon just behind him. Alonso. Piastri has come out a little bit earlier this time around. Piastri was the last of the kind of front runners to set a flying lap time in Q2, deciding not to do that this time around and get a lap in before a possible red flag causes him a headache. Nearly caused himself a headache around turn 19. Thought he was going to clatter into the wall. Also, turn 18. Thought he was going to clatter into the wall. Took some paint off the Armco barrier. Yeah, that's also a good point, Josh. Will be all about getting that perfect little slot, won't it? Finding that gap in the traffic. Because as you say, if you get caught up behind I feel like Nico Hulkenberg's in a bit of a weird position there. Because if, Hulkenberg is holding up the two Mercedes cars, for instance, if you then pit and you come out behind that kind of gaggle, which I imagine is going to be Hulkenberg, Russell, Antonelli, Bortoletto, if you come in and amongst that, I think you're just going to be costing yourself so much time. So you're right. When you do pit, you do want to come out behind someone who's also got a little bit of pace about them, don't you? Piastri's home win by adoption. He was second to Charles Leclerc here last year. Put Charles Leclerc right up to it. It was a very, very good lap from Piastri, just outdone by an almost perfect lap from Charles Leclerc in qualifying last year. So never say never. Shown he's got pace and has gone quickest of anybody so far in that first sector. Of course, the likes of the drivers ahead of him setting fast laps, not really the kinds we'd imagine Piastri will be fighting with towards the end of this session, but fastest nonetheless from Oscar Piastri. Alonso and Lawson, though, ahead of him, hoping that he can maybe catch up to the back of those before they go through. No, he's going to catch the back of Lawson after that. Lawson then moves out of the way of Piastri, going around towards turn 12. Let's see then where Piastri is going to come out, just coming through the swimming pool chicane, and then around turn 18, getting ever closer to the barrier, but not quite touching it like he did before. Lando Norris's teammate has just gone fastest in the middle sector, so Piastri with a 1:10.5 is not a bad first gambit from Oscar Piastri at all. But here comes Lando Norris, was quicker than his teammate in the middle sector and should go a little bit quicker than his teammate as long as he gets this final sector right, and does. It's within a tenth of a second though. Piastri, 600ths of a second slower than his teammate so far. Hamilton goes 5/10ths of a second adrift. Ocon and Alonso both haven't set real lap times yet. They were sort of going for a second run-up lap. Here comes Charles Leclerc, who hasn't been quickest in any sector, but does go third fastest. A 10.5 off Lando Norris's provisional pole position time, as we've got just over 8 minutes left in the session. Here comes Isaac Hadjar, and he goes 5th fastest in his RB. Fernando Alonso, though, is finally on a flying lap inside of his Aston Martin. Max Verstappen has also started a flying lap behind, so I'll keep an eye on Verstappen as he goes 9 thousandths of a second slower than Lando Norris. So Verstappen is right in contention to take provisional pole away from the Briton, the 4-time world champion, just making his way past Charles Leclerc through turn 7 and turn 8. It's going to be close, it feels like, from Max Verstappen if he can just get this second sector going. Down towards turn 10 and 11 comes Verstappen, very close to the walls, knows that he needs to be millimeter perfect to get pole position here. He's done it before. Can he do it again? It's an indifferent middle sector from Verstappen. He's a 10th of a second down on Norris now. Doesn't feel like he's going to go fastest. Verstappen maybe slot into 3rd place if the times are as they show. Possibly could even fall behind Leclerc, and does fall behind Leclerc. It was a poor middle and final sector from Verstappen, considering how close he was to Lando Norris in the first part of the lap. Loses out 0.2 of a second adrift of Norris, and also 11 thousandths of a second behind Charles Leclerc. Leclerc's just made his way back into the pits, though. Both of the Ferraris going back into the garage for a new set of tyres. Ocon is the fastest of the midfield cars, which I was not expecting. Ocon is 6th fastest at the moment. Alonso 7th. Lawson 8th. Alex Albon, though, hasn't set a fast time yet. Isaac Adjar also abandoned his lap. So Albon then for Williams on the medium tyre. 0.5 of a second off Lando Norris's time, but that is still much quicker than Esteban Ocon's time at the moment. And let's see where Alex Albon slots in. I think he's going to go either 5th or 6th fastest here, depending on this final sector. It is 6th fastest, dropped a couple of tenths in that final sector. On the medium tyre, though, Alex Albon, and it's 6th fastest and best of the rest for him at the moment. And the Williams team can take a lot of positives from that, because if they've got another set of soft compound tyres that they can run, could be very nice indeed. The Red Bull struggling through the middle and last sector. Yeah, Verstappen just a little bit off of it. Was right on Lando Norris's time through the first sector. Also hit a little bit of traffic through the middle sector. Did have to make his way past the Ferrari of Leclerc. Probably the worst point where you have to get out of the way at turn 6 and turn 7. Oh, there's a touch of the wall down into the swimming pool chicane for Lewis Hamilton, which we didn't see. No damage on that Ferrari, but a knock with the wall nonetheless. A vibration. Here comes Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. Both of them out very early indeed, it has to be said. The two McLarens maybe wanting to go for 2 warm-up laps. We'll have to wait and see. Or maybe just wanting to get out before there's any kind of traffic. So Piastri coming around turn 9. Piastri, yeah, they must have got, I don't know, trying to see the onboards, whether or not Piastri is going to go for like two warm-up laps, or whether this is going to be Piastri's run at pole position. Because if it is, he's gone super, super early. Piastri and Norris within a 10th of a second of one another. Norris with the advantage at the moment. Piastri just coming around turn 9. Esteban Ocon has come out of the pits. I think Piastri is going for a flying lap here. Down towards turn 1. Piastri's going to have a lovely little bit of clean air, to be fair. So deciding to go early. Lando Norris is also going to pass Fernando Alonso, who's making his way out of the pit lane. Alonso and Albon making their way around. Piastri has found a 10th and a half on Lando Norris through the first sector. His teammate behind, though, so Lando Norris will have a chance to rebuttal, and he has. Lando Norris has found about 7 thousandths of a second on Oscar Piastri, so both of them very tight indeed. Lando Norris in 18.222, Piastri in 18.229 in the first sector on their final flying laps. Piastri is ahead of Lando Norris, though. So let's see what he can do. Piastri through the middle sector, 3.5 tenths up on Lando Norris's previous time. It's a 33.3, so keep an eye on Lando Norris's middle sector. Let's have a little look as it comes through. A 33.4. So Piastri is a 10th up on Lando. Piastri's going to have a 10th in his advantage going through the final sector. It's a poor final sector, though, from Piastri. It's only an 18.6. Lando Norris then comes around the final couple of corners. Can he do it? Yes, by 15 thousandths of a second. And Piastri threw it away in that final sector. Piastri really did chuck that away in the final sector, unfortunately for him. 15 thousandths of a second, all that separates the two McLaren cars. The rest of the field are now going to have to see if they can match it. It's a 110.125 from Lando Norris. Piastri, a 110.140. So it is so tight between them. Leclerc, Verstappen, and Hamilton, though, are all making their way out on their outlaps. Albon currently best of the rest. And on another flying lap by the looks of things as well. Goodness me. Let's see then. Lewis Hamilton is now going to start his final flying lap here in Monaco. His first time racing in red at the absolutely stunning Monaco circuit. And here he goes into Casino Square. Down the hill comes Lewis Hamilton. It's a 10.5 off Norris. But it's an improvement on his time nonetheless. He's really looking at Leclerc and Verstappen. Can Hamilton get himself up into the top three and put himself right in the window for a podium tomorrow? That's what he'll be hoping for. Charles Leclerc is 0.06 of a second off Lando Norris's time through the first sector. But it is improving, so the Ferraris are going quicker than before. Verstappen also 0.05 of a second off Norris through the first sector, so it's tight at the moment. Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris will be looking at the timing sheets. Lewis Hamilton is only a 10th of a second adrift of Lando Norris's time through the middle sector. If he can find a 10th of a second here in this final part of the lap, Lewis Hamilton could take pole. Charles Leclerc has found a stunning amount of time through the middle sector, actually. Charles Leclerc is absolutely flying. Lewis Hamilton has only managed to go third fastest, but Leclerc is absolutely storming through the middle sector. Max Verstappen really struggling through the middle part of the lap. Here comes Charles Leclerc. Surely he's going to go to the top, and does. Charles Leclerc takes pole position at his home Grand Prix once again with a 110 dead. He's 0.06 of a second ahead of Lando Norris. Max Verstappen, I don't think is going to improve here, and doesn't. This is a very poor middle sector from him. Piastri has gone for another flying lap. Is Piastri going to improve? No. Stays third fastest as Oscar Piastri. It was a bit of a last-minute gamble from Piastri to do it. Lando Norris is improving and improving once again, and is going to go fastest. Lando Norris sneaks underneath Charles Leclerc's nose to get pole position here. And Lando Norris is into the 109s. Take a bow. Lando Norris, a 1 minute 9 second pole position lap. Charles Leclerc has to settle for second best. And Oscar Piastri once again finds himself behind the Monegasque driver. Hamilton will start on the second row of the grid in fourth place. Verstappen in fifth. Isaac Hadjar managed to move himself up to best of the rest. In and amongst that, by the way, we missed out on an Isaac Hadjar masterclass in the midfield once again. He starts sixth. Fernando Alonso starts in seventh place. Esteban Ocon in eighth. Liam Lawson in ninth. And Alex Albon starts in 10th place. Goodness me, that was a stunning lap from Lando Norris at the end there. Actually had a little bit of a wobble in the final sector, which is why I was like, oh, it's going to be tight. It wasn't tight at all. 10th of a second from Lando Norris on the shortest lap of the calendar. Very nice indeed. Right, I'm going to disappear. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We will be live once again for the race tomorrow. So keep your eyes peeled, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all very, very soon. Lando Norris starting on pole position. Have we got a title fight on our hands, ladies and gentlemen? I really hope so.